Today, President Biden visits Saudi Arabia on a high-stakes trip. He says his purpose is to promote U.S. interests.
Before leaving Israel, the president made an unprecedented visit to a key part of Jerusalem, and he voiced his support for a Palestinian state. Chris Mitchell brings us the story.
For the first time, a U.S. president visited East Jerusalem, sending a signal to Israel that part of the city could be the future capital of a Palestinian state. From there, Biden headed to Bethlehem to meet with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and advocated for a two-state solution.
Two states along the 1967 lines were mutually agreed to swaps remain the best way to achieve equal measure of security, prosperity, freedom, and democracy for the Palestinians as well as Israelis.
After Israel comes perhaps the most challenging part of his Mideast trip, the president going to Saudi Arabia, a country he once called a pariah due to its human rights record and connections to the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
My position on Khashoggi has been so clear. If anyone doesn't understand it in Saudi Arabia or anywhere else, then they haven't been around for a while.
Biden, though, made a point of wanting more positive relations with the country, even as he admits the U.S. left a vacuum in the region.
The reason I'm going to Saudi Arabia, though, is much broader, is to promote U.S. interest. Promote U.S. interest in a way that I think we have an opportunity to reassert what I think we've made a mistake of walking away from, our influence in the Middle East.
With the United States of America distances ourselves from other people and other countries that should be stronger friends and stronger allies, they go elsewhere. And when they go elsewhere, there aren't other good, friendly countries that are waiting with open arms. Saudi has an enormous amount of resources. They are an attractive prize on the world stage. So whether it's China or Russia or others, that's where they're going to run to. And therefore, it behooves us to hug them closely and to enhance the relationship with them, even if we've got challenges in that relationship. To distance them is only going to propel them towards our enemies and our foes.
On Thursday, the Israeli government approved a deal that may pave the way for relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, while Saudi Arabia also granted flyover rights to Israel. When Biden does land in Saudi Arabia, he will find a different Middle East. John Medved is the founder of Our Crowd, Israel's largest venture capital platform.
Really good news recently in this part of the world has been the Abraham Accords, which was so smartly named, because what it has resulted in is this incredible release of energy between the children of Abraham.
Medved wrote about this new Middle East on his blog on LinkedIn and says the sand curtain in the Middle East is coming down.
And when this sand curtain, which separated us from our neighbors, sort of dissipates, when this comes down, starts to come down, it's not coming back up.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, there's certainly hope for peace in the Middle East as a result of the Abraham Accords. I don't think there'll be hope for peace with Iran or with Hamas or even with the Palestinian Authority. They are dedicated to driving Israel to the sea. And I'm absolutely shocked the President of the United States would stand up in East Jerusalem and call for a two-state solution based on the 67 border. That doesn't make any sense to me. It means he really doesn't know the history of the region to say that that's a proper thing to do. They were offered that, and they were offered that back in 1948. They were offered that back in the 1968, after the Six-Day War. They have consistently refused because they don't want any Jews in the land at all. But today, in 2022, to say we're going to bring up the 67 border, are you kidding me? Golda Meir was very famous for taking American diplomats to Ben Gurion Airport and then pointing to a nearby hill and saying, if you restore the 67 border, that means a Palestinian can stand on that hill and take out the airplane that you just landed in. There's no security for Israel in that kind of arrangement, and particularly with the ideology that's being proclaimed within the Palestinian Authority, let alone what's being proclaimed out of Iran and out of Gaza. These things are It's absolutely incredible that you would do that. And you're completely ignoring the cities. These aren't settlements, they're cities of Jewish people within those borders. It's incredible to me that someone would actually make that claim and say, I'm here to do that. We need to recognize, just as the U.S. Congress has recognized, Jerusalem is the undivided capital of Israel. That's why our embassy is now there, to go back and to encourage anyone by standing up in East Jerusalem and making that kind of proclamation is just beyond belief.